Okay, it is 10 o'clock. Can we begin?
Good morning and welcome to we're going to have a special review session first. Ryan, you can present these items.
Sure. So welcome to the special review session of the New York City Planning Commission for Wednesday, December 15th. The time is 10:01 a.m. and a quorum is present. The first item on our agenda is the City Council modification scope determination for River Ring. Carenza Wood is here to discuss. Carenza?
Yes, good morning, commissioners. On December 9th, 2021, the City Council Land Use Committee voted on the River Ring application and proposed modifications to the proposed zoning text amendment. The modification would reintroduce the text that permits existing piers to be replaced or reconstructed while still retaining the floor area generated by the structures. The modification has no material effect on the proposed development. The department has reviewed the proposed modification and determined that it raises no environmental issues requiring further review. Thank you.
Thank you, Carenza. Are there any questions from the commission on this proposed modification? Okay, seeing none, I will ask for an assent by a show of hands to send a letter to the City Council that these modifications are within scope. All in favor, please say yay.
Yay. Yay.
Any opposed? Thank you. Any opposed? Please say nay. All right, so we will send this letter to the City Council. Thank you very much.
All right. The second item on our agenda is a City Council modification scope determination for Soho NoHo. Sylvia Lee is here to discuss.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. As you may recall, the zoning text amendments to implement the Soho NoHo neighborhood plan was approved by the commission on October 20th, 2021. The City Council Land Use Committee voted on the applications on December 9th and has proposed draft modifications as summarized on this slide. So specifically, the draft modifications would eliminate MIH option 2, require the Department of Cultural Affairs to produce annual reports for the Soho NoHo Arts Fund, prohibit college, university, and dorm uses, limit eating and drinking establishments to 8,500 square feet, require a CPC special permit for large retail or over certain thresholds, and exempt large commercial buildings from the non-residential floor area retention requirement if such a conversion results in income-restricted affordable housing. Additionally, the draft modifications would also reduce the density and heights in certain portions of the special Soho NoHo mixed-use district, as highlighted on the map. Specifically, the council replaces the majority of the R9X district mapped in NoHo, areas labeled 1 and 2 on the map here, with an R9A and R7X district. A small portion of the R9X district remains here, labeled 3, with a reduced height. The R7X district in the 2-block area in Soho, east of Crosby Street, labeled 4, is remapped as an R7D district. Additionally, commercial densities will be brought down to 5 along the Broadway corridor, as well as much of the 2 Soho opportunity areas, labeled 1, 5, 6, 7 on the map. City Council also made adjustments to certain base heights in some of the districts. The department has reviewed the proposed change and determined that it raises no land use or environmental issues requiring further review. Lastly, in conjunction with the zoning actions, the city is committed to a number of strategic investments in and around Soho NoHo. This is, of course, beyond the commission scope determination today, but wanted to bring the commission up to speed. So these are a number of commitments that tackle many of the needs and challenges raised during public review. So on the slide is some of the key items and not an exhaustive list. These range from affordable housing and tenant support to programs that benefit the arts and small business community, as well as a suite of open space, street, and public realm improvements and future studies. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sylvia. Are there any questions from the commission with respect to this scope determination and the modifications raised? Okay, if not, we are asked to send a letter to the city council that these modifications are within scope. Can I get an assent by a show of hands to send this letter to city council? All in favor say yay.
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 Opposed? Nay? All right, thank you. We will send this letter to the city council.
Congratulations, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Okay, the third item on our agenda is a city council modification scope determination for 175 Park Avenue. Ezra Moser is here to discuss, and I will note that Commissioner Cirillo is recused on this item.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Hi, good morning. So I'm here to present the City Council mods for 175 Park Avenue, which is an application by Commodore Owner LLC, a joint venture between RXR Realty and TF Cornerstone for a new office and hotel development in East Midtown. Next slide, please. So just a bit of recap, CPC approved the application October 18th, 2021, and on December 7th, 2021, City Council voted to propose modifications. The requested actions include 4 special permits, a text amendment, and a disposition of non-residential city property that will result in a 2.25 million square foot mixed office and hotel development in East Midtown, Manhattan Community District 5. The development would include also 25,000 square feet of public spaces in the form of 3 elevated terraces that wrap around the base of the building. Next slide, please. So City Council proposed to make 2 modifications to land use actions. The first is a reduction in the building height from 1,642.5 feet to 1,575 feet, which would necessitate revisions to a number of the approved drawings. And the second is the reduction in hours of public access for the elevated public terraces. As approved, the spaces were permitted to close overnight for cleaning and maintenance between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5:15 a.m. And then under the council mods, the spaces will be permitted to close for these same purposes from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. DCP has reviewed the proposed modifications and determined that it raises no land use considerations requiring further review. And in addition, the applicant submitted a tech memo to DCP analyzing a building program with use group 2 in lieu of the proposed hotel. Use group 2 is a permitted as of right use, but was not analyzed in the FEIS. Next slide, please. So that concludes the presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, Ezra. Are there any questions from the commission regarding these modifications? If not, again, we're asked to send a letter to the city council confirming that these modifications are within scope. I'd look for an assent by a show of hands from the commission that we should send this letter. All in favor say yay.
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 Thank you. Thank you. Any? Hearing none, we will send this letter to the city council. Thank you again, Ezra.
The fourth item on our agenda is a city council modification scope determination for 250 Water Street. Stephen Johnson is here to discuss.
Good morning, commissioners. The City Council is considering modifications to the 250 Water Street application and large-scale general development project. The project is to facilitate the development of a mixed-use building with 547,000 square feet of zoning floor area located within the South Street Seaport, and to allow the distribution of floor area across within the large scale. Specifically, the council is considering a modification to the zoning text amendment that would designate 250 Water Street as a receiving site for transferable development rights from the Seaport Development Rights Bank. You may recall that the applicant originally had this specific certification in the application that was certified on May 17th, which transferred development rights from both Pier 17 and the Development Rights Bank. Then after the project was reviewed by the Landmarks Preservation Commission, the building was reduced in size, and the applicant subsequently filed an amended application on August 8th to transfer 234,360 square feet from Pier 17 and remove the transfer from the bank. The council modification is to put back the transfer of development rights from the bank into the 250 Water Street project. And to effectuate those changes, it requires a two-step process. The first step is the proposed council mod that we are looking at here to designate 250 Water Street as a receiving site and modify the special permit to make changes to the zoning calculations on the associated drawings concerning the development rights transfer. This would reduce the transfer from Pier 17 from the 234,000 to 207,000 square feet. The second step of the process is a related non-ULURP action that must be reintroduced with a new application. And this focuses on a commission certification, and I will be discussing that in a second with you on the following agenda item. So the commission voted to approve the special permit, the text amendment, and the related actions on October 20th. The council on December 9th, the council land use committee voted to approve the application with these modifications. The department has reviewed the proposed council modification and believes they would not result in any land use or environmental impacts that were not already identified in the environmental review, and that the modifications are within scope. There are no proposed changes to the building size, height, or massing. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Does the commission have any questions with respect to these proposed modifications? Okay, seeing none, we're again asked to send a scope determination letter to the city council that these modifications are within scope. And so I will ask for an assent by show of hands to send the letter to the city council. All in favor, say yay or raise your hand.
Yay.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you then. We will send this letter to the city council.
All right.
Thanks, Stephen.
The fifth item on our agenda is a non-ULURP CPC certification in Manhattan Community District 1. It is regarding the 250 Water Street certification that Stephen alluded to, and he will discuss that now.
Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is, as I mentioned, the second step in the process. This is the follow-up non-ULURP application for commission certification to transfer 27,216 square feet from the Seaport Development Rights Bank to 250 Water Street. Again, this action was in the original certified application for 250 Water Street that was subsequently modified. This is mainly a bureaucratic, non-discretionary item. Your briefing packages have largely the same materials from the 250 Water Street application, such as the area map, zoning maps, etc. So I didn't include those in any presentation here. Because the council mod that was just voted on removed 27,216 square feet from the Pier 17 transfer, that floor area is now being proposed to come from the Seaport Development Right Bank, which will then let the 250 Water Street achieve the full 547,000 square feet that was approved under the special permit. Happy to take any questions on this one.
Thank you, Stephen. Does the commission have any questions with regarding this action? Okay, then I would ask for
Commissioner
an assent
Marin
by
has
a show of
raised his hand.
hands.
Orlando.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I do have a
I don't
question.
see his.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
yes,
was up,
please.
and then I would put it down. Sorry. So my only question would be: is if we're taking this from the land bank, how many square feet are in the land bank, and what will be left as a result of this deduction?
This leaves approximately 3,000 square feet in the Seaport Development Rights Bank.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Any other questions for Stephen? Okay, if not, I'm going to ask that we get an assent by a show of hands to make this certification, which is a CPC action. And ultimately, we will send a letter to the buildings department. May I get an assent by a show of hands? Say yay if you agree, or raise your hand. Yay.
Yay.
Any nays? Okay, then that's carried. Thank you all very much.
Right. The sixth item on our agenda is a non-ULURP review of a general project plan approval. Edith Suchen, among others, is here to discuss, and I'll note that Commissioner Cirillo is recused on this item.
Good morning. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you, Chair Lermont. Good morning, commissioners. Good to see you all. Oh, hold on. Yep. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're here today for a follow-up presentation and discussion on the Penn GPP. You will recall a couple weeks ago on December 1st, my colleague Stephen Johnson and I provided a summary of the state's Pennsylvania Station Area Civic and Land Use Improvement Project, also known as the Penn GPP. Stephen walked you through the original proposed plan issued by the ESD in February of this year, as well as the modifications proposed by the ESD that were issued earlier last month in November. The modified plan came after the ESD convened a community advisory committee working group, and after it underwent a extended stakeholder engagement process. Today's presentation is to focus on the department's assessment and recommendations and to hear your comments. I am joined today by Manhattan office urban designers and planners, Josh Simino and Rich Long, and we will go through a presentation and then head to the discussion. Okay, next slide, please. So a reminder, the Penn GPP is a comprehensive redevelopment initiative proposed by the New York State Empire State Development Corp. To create a revitalized area around Penn Station in order to establish an improved and expanded transportation hub, a world-class transportation hub. The ESD has articulated these goals for the project to improve the area surrounding the station with new high-density mixed-use development, to improve passenger rail and transit facilities, as well as pedestrian circulation, access, and safety throughout the district. And also, the GPP is to support improvements to address substation and to support and accommodate potential future capacity increases at the station.
Save it for later.
The project is the project would result in the development of 10 new buildings on 8 development sites comprising 18.2 to 19.6 million gross square feet. And again, this would be primarily, the buildings would incorporate new on-site entrances and connections to the transit and pedestrian network. It would include pilot or payment in lieu of taxes and other mechanisms. The structure of any pilot is to be determined in agreement between the city and the state. And we stressed in our last discussion with you that the pilot discussions between the state and the city are still in preliminary stages, but they are occurring at very high levels. There's currently not an agreement, and one is not expected within the next several weeks. This is a notable point that we will come back to later. Next slide, please. So last week on December 8th, the ESD held a public hearing on the GPP. It heard comments on the original proposed and the modified November proposal. Due to an ASL interpretation issue, the ESD will hold a second session to hear public testimony, and this will be held on January 13th. The comment period will end on February 22nd of 2022. So the GPP enables the state to override local laws, including zoning regulations, in order to meet the goals and purposes of the proposal. The Urban Development Corporation Act provides that a local planning board or commission may recommend approval, disapproval, or modification of a GPP whenever override of local regulations are being sought. So here we are before you to solicit your comments and to make our recommendations. So our discussion today will focus on DCP staff's key takeaways on the proposed GPP. And this will provide hopefully the basis for comment and discussion for you. Let's get to the next slide, please. So our comments on the GPP are grouped in these key themes, which we'll go through today. Number one, the transportation network. Number two, open space. Number three, shared streets. 4, the built environment. And 5, governance and financing. So here I will turn to Josh Semino, who will walk us through key takeaways and recommendations in the first 4 categories. Thank you.
Thanks, Edith. Can we go to the next slide, please? Penn Station is an important transportation hub for the city and the region. As this map illustrates, it serves to connect the regional rail networks of Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and Long Island Railroad with a host of local subway lines along 6th, 7th, and 8th Avenue. With platforms today operating at or near capacity during peak hour volumes, the department is supportive of ESD's proposal to add track capacity in order to alleviate platform congestion and address safety concerns, in addition to strengthening and connecting direct connections to the local transit. Next slide, please. Transit improvements are fundamental to this project. As a regional gateway to New York City, Penn Station should inspire a sense of civic pride that stands in stark contrast with the existing station that you can see pictured here. And to this point, the plan includes a host of below-grade transit improvements that support this goal. Next slide, please. This below-grade concourse system serves a critical role in facilitating the movement of commuters between the platforms, subway lines, and the street. With the majority of the commuter movements flowing north and east from Penn Station, the department is supportive of ESD's proposed plan to expand this network east of 7th Avenue to improve these commuter movements, which you can see here highlighted in yellow. Furthermore, the department would like to note that the increased ridership on the 7th and 8th Avenue lines make the connections between Penn Station and Harold and Greeley Squares all the more important. And an additional east-west passageway that could complement the existing Gimbels passageway would help facilitate this need to move more people towards the east. Next slide, please. While the primary goal of the concourse system is to alleviate crowding of sidewalks and facilitate or reinforce key connections, our understanding of the public realm has evolved over the past couple of decades and is now generally accepted as the collective backdrop to how the city is understood and experienced, including spaces just like this. The pedestrian experience of these spaces must also be considered, as this rendering of the ongoing renovations to the concourse below 33rd Street illustrates, with enhancements that include high-quality design, amenities, and long overdue accessibility upgrades. The department encourages ESD to incorporate similar design strategies in their design guidelines for the new train station and eastern expansion of the concourse system. Next slide, please. While separate and apart from the Penn GPP, the department is supportive of the civic-minded vision that the state has put forward for the Penn Station Master Plan, highlighted by the mid-block train hall depicted in this rendering, which is currently being developed separately by MTA, Amtrak, and New Jersey Transit. As the details of this project continue to be refined, the Penn GPP should be highly responsive in order to ensure seamless integration between these separate but importantly related projects. Next slide, please. While much of what has been discussed and referenced thus far has been about the below-grade rail and subway infrastructure, it is important to keep in mind that these improvements must also be integrated with intermodal connections at grade. The department appreciates how ESD's proposed plan incorporates subway entrances into the proposed buildings and development sites with enhanced entrances. The design approach can play an important role in how the public understands and moves through a crowded urban environment, reducing the reliance on signage alone by creating a welcoming and legible environment. Further coordination, however, particularly with our Department of Transportation, is required to ensure that ample space and legibility is ensured, that strengthened connections between these entrances and other modes such as buses, taxis, and bicycles. For example, while ESD is proposing bike parking and storage requirements above what zoning would otherwise require here, it must be evenly distributed across the district, within buildings and open spaces, and outside of the right-of-way to avoid congestion and safety conflicts. Next slide, please. The desire for more quality open space is something we often hear from communities across the city, and with the additional densities being sought with this plan was an issue central to many of the Community Advisory Committee working groups' discussions. Improvements to transit, streets, open space, and sidewalks that accommodate greater numbers of people and allow them to circulate more efficiently and safely throughout the district are all the more important as we plan for a post-pandemic city. This is an important opportunity to create significant public spaces that encourage a balance of users and integrate the needs of residents, commuters, pedestrians, cyclists, and make the streets safe for everyone. Next slide, please. Massive regional infrastructure and large-scale development projects underway within West Midtown involving a variety of private, state, and regional actors are rapidly transforming a large area of the city. Given the level of activity and importance to the city, West Midtown demands a holistic vision for the area that reflects our ambitions and aspirations as a city and supports its continued potential as a diverse, mixed-use, and connected neighborhood. While the proposed project plan outlines the addition of 8 acres of open space within the project area, the department would like to point out that the vast majority of this area is comprised of sidewalk widenings, with essentially only the mid-block open space on Site 2 amounting to significant open space in its common understanding, which you can see highlighted in this map with the purple color. The department therefore strongly recommends that the proposed project area be expanded to include public realm improvements at Herald Square, Greeley Square, and Broadway, sometimes referred collectively as the bow tie, which you can see here highlighted in yellow. The expansion of the project area was also advocated by the Community Advisory Committee Working Group in its letter to ESD back in August. While ESD is proposing a number of below-grade improvements in this area, the city has recorded intense latent demand for public space in the area and believes at-grade improvements here are necessary to improve much-needed space for improved station access, greatly enhance public space for thousands of people working and shopping in the area, and create a gateway to the station district. The city reiterates that the construction of these vibrant and energetic plaza spaces as part of the project are vital to creating a livable district that will attract both visitors and economic investment. Next slide, please. A primary goal of the open space in this high-density transit-oriented neighborhood must be to facilitate the movement of large volumes of commuters, particularly in the directions north and east from the station. In addition to incorporating Herald and Greeley Squares into the proposed project area, the proposed project plan should identify further public realm improvements within the development sites themselves that optimize place and movement by improving circulation and the pedestrian environment. Shown here is an example of how this is achieved in another similarly dense area of the city, One Bryant Park at the corner of 6th Avenue and 42nd Street, where you can see how the ground floor of the building has been set back some distance from the intersection to more easily facilitate the movement of people along the sidewalk while also providing for access to below-grade transit. Next slide, please. 7th Avenue is a critical corridor within the proposed project area, with signature station entrances located at 33rd and 32nd Street. While the initial draft plan from ESD showed the towers on Site 2 rising directly at the avenues with a large mid-block open space, their proposed alternative plan shows a slightly smaller mid-block open space on Site 2 in exchange for the greater setback on 7th Avenue and a significant avenue-facing transit entrance. The department strongly supports this revised approach as it reinforces 7th Avenue as the front door of Penn Station, not only taking cues from the existing station entrances by adding to the 2 that are already along this corridor, but orienting the station in open space in the direction of commuters north and east from the station. It should be noted that prioritizing gracious and avenue-facing entrances was also supported by the Community Advisory Committee Working Group. And just as a quick comparison, the amount of avenue-facing space delivered in this approach would be similar to the recently completed towers facing 9th Avenue at the Manhattan West development, just a couple blocks to the west. And the resulting mid-block open space, while slightly smaller, is still approximately 100 feet wide, which is a similar generous scale to other popular spaces in the city, and Zuccotti Park would be an example of something this size. I'm now gonna, can we go to the next slide, and I'll pass it over to my colleague Rich to take us through the second half of our comments.
Thank you, Josh. Good morning, commissioners. Shared street design allowed for flexible time of day management to accommodate peaks in pedestrian, cyclist, and delivery activity, while maintaining a high quality experience for people as they move through the district. While a fairly new street typology to New York City, the Department of Transportation has been rolling this out in various locations across the city. Most notably, their Broadway Vision plan that extends from roughly Times Square to Madison Square. The department is strongly supportive of ESD's proposed plan to include shared street along 31st Street, 32nd, 33rd Street for their ability to deliver a significant amount of open space in a high density neighborhood and further help facilitate the movement of large volumes of commuters. From a broader planning perspective, the 33rd Street shared street, which is shown here in the illustrative rendering, has the advantage of linking Harrow and Greeley squares towards the east with destinations as far west as the Western Rail Yards, all with at-grade connections. While the department does support this approach in concept, there remains many outstanding questions regarding how these streets would be managed and function in practice, especially given the significant competing needs of service and loading for the district within this highly constrained right-of-ways. Next slide, please. Madison Square Garden is, of course, the primary concern among these competing service and loading needs, mainly due to the intensity and frequency these needs are required of such an arena. For some quick background, while MSG was designed to incorporate internal service and loading functions, eliminating the need of using the street altogether, shortly after the complex opened, this internal service space was rendered all but useless, as modern trucks and trailers were too big to fit. Further complicating the service needs here, this large truck can neither make their way under the mid-block pedestrian bridge that connects 2 Penn with the arena. So all service, loading, and maneuvering of these large trucks is constrained to 33rd Street. And while the challenges surrounding MSG are significant, there are also service and loading needs required for the Hulu Theater, the railroads, as well as many existing and new commercial developments in and around the district. Implementation of this shared street, while required close coordination between with the Department of Transportation and other private entities, to the maximum extent feasible, loading should be accommodated off-street. On-street loading should be managed through creative street design and curb regulations in order to minimize impacts on safety and mobility. Design should also strongly encourage off-hour deliveries to boost efficiency of streets and loading in the district. Street design should also incorporate opportunities for bike parking to encourage and accommodate multimodal trips. Next slide, please. The proposed project area is located in area of the city that is characterized by high-density tall buildings with tall base heights, particularly as they define the avenues, but that also includes some of its cross streets. The context surrounding the proposed project area is also varied, with generally higher commercial densities and build forms to the north and east, and lower densities and build forms that transition from commercial to residential towards the south and west. Respecting this context while accommodating for even higher densities in an already dense area of the city requires a holistic approach between individual building and street design controls to best understand how everything comes together to shape the overall pedestrian experience. For instance, while dimensional controls such as sidewalk widening, width, base heights, and initial setbacks are each defined individually, their impact on how they shape the overall pedestrian experience at street level can really only be understood when considered together. For example, ESD's proposed sidewalk widening and initial setback dimensions are generally in line with what we typically see in similar contexts. However, they are both measured from the lot line. So a 10 feet sidewalk widening and a 10 feet initial setback would essentially cancel each other out and result in the experience of sheer rising building from the sidewalk. Coupled with mostly uniform base heights being proposed across the district, the resulting streetscape may be somewhat hostile. The department would prefer that these controls be additive, meaning that the 10 feet sidewalk widening provide the needed space at the sidewalk for circulation, the additional 10 feet initial setback measured from the building edge to help provide a transition of scale from the tall towers to the street, and incorporate more variations in the base heights so to collectively shape a more friendly and human scale street experience. The proposed project design guidelines should be expanded to include more detail and narrative for how specific design controls and dimensions are intended to shape the public realm and the quality of the pedestrian experience at street level. Next slide, please. Mechanical and security infrastructure must not be left as an afterthought and should be integrated early on in the planning process to minimize adverse impacts on the public realm by leveraging as assets wherever possible, such as integrating with open space and building design. The bollards that you can see in this image have become an unavoidable element of our city streetscape and will likely be significant challenge at such high-profile transit hub. Ventilation infrastructure will be another challenge as the track capacity is expanded below grade and existing systems are upgraded. You can see here some of this existing track fence highlighted in yellow. And while perhaps not as much a visual obstruction on the streetscape, it can be quite loud to the point where you cannot carry a conversation between people here. The location of this ventilation infrastructure should be highly coordinated with the public ground plan and or proposed buildings and located above ground floor level to the greatest extent possible. The department suggests that planning and design guidance for these elements is in particular be included in the project's design guidelines. Next slide, please. A carefully considered signage approach is needed that is responsive to density and building form in shaping the unique character of different corridors within the district. There are multiple transit systems in this area: MTA, Amtrak, NJT, and PASS. And all related transit signage should be clear and easily distinguishable from commercial signage. The department does not believe the existing special Penn district sign regulations reflect the current plan objectives. As you can see from this photograph, current sign contribute to visual clutter. Transit signs indistinguishable from commercial signs. They are large, some are freestanding, and overall not integrated into buildings. The subway station signage in red is almost indistinguishable from the model's commercial signage, since it's also the same color and even similar font. Next slide, please. And lastly, a note on sustainability, resiliency, and equity. While ESD's proposed plan include goals that will satisfy relevant regulations and laws, in recognition of the high-profile nature of this project, the department would urge ESD to use this as an opportunity to strive to exceed current rules and regulations, innovate and lead the way by example in securing the city's future against the most pressing challenges of today and tomorrow. And then I will hand the presentation back to Edith to discuss financing and other topics. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Josh. I just want to point out that Josh and Rich have been so integral to the city's team in reviewing the GPP, and we really thank them for their bringing their skills and talents to the review. I mentioned a point about financing earlier. I noted that the city and state are currently engaged in high-level conversations regarding the financing, regarding the pilot. So it's unlikely that there'll be a pilot agreement by the end of the year. So we don't currently have resolution on this matter. Moving on to the next slide, please. And as a last slide for our review, and then we'll get into a discussion, there are many projects in the Penn Station area heading west into, towards Hudson Yards, a lot of very important infrastructure projects and connectivity projects. So we also want to stress the importance of making sure that there is great oversight over all these projects, all these important projects, and that they are connected well and seamlessly. And so this is something we would like to stress, that there should be more information interaction between the Penn Station reconstruction, in particular, the heart of this district, and the Penn GPP project. Let's advance 2 slides, please. Thank you. Oh, okay. Well, there's a final slide here. I wanted to start off our discussion with basically a précis statement of where the department stands on the GPP. So I want to start off by stressing that the department and the city of New York, we share the core goals of the Penn GPP project. There's no question, there's no debate that New York City should have a world-class gateway at a modernized Penn Station, and that it is all safer and more accommodating to passengers and visitors, users, office workers, tourists coming in and out of this district and the city. We also support the revitalization of the district that surrounds it. The Penn district should indeed be a premier central business district with a world-class public realm to go with it. Here, we are at the busiest transit hub. It's an incredible job center, not just in the city, but in the region and indeed in the country. So we support high density here, and we support the program of predominantly office use, and we support the pairing of development with public realm and transit improvements. So that said, we do believe that this important and ambitious vision requires further development. We do still have questions. High among those is the financing structure for the project. We have questions also regarding the specificity of transit and public realm improvements, including timing of when they will be delivered. And we also have questions regarding the interaction with other critical infrastructure projects. That all said, this project really is an excellent opportunity to create a renewed sense of civic pride with modern transportation and with a beautiful public realm and highly user-friendly infrastructure at this central location in New York City. So we remain ready to collaborate with the ESD on the continued refinement of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edith and team, for that very thorough presentation. So now we will open it to the commission for discussion and any questions that you may have with respect to what you heard today and what you have received in detailed correspondence with respect to this project. So I will just want, before I open it, to echo Edith's comments about the fact that we do support the notion of redevelopment here, that we do have a number of questions that we continue to want to work on with the state, as were highlighted in detail in this presentation. And we would very much like to hear any perspectives that you all want to share or comments you want to make. Thank you. So it's open. Any questions from the commission?
Commissioner Burney has his hand up.
Okay, I don't see these things up.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Burney.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Edith and team. I guess my first question really is, what are we talking about here in terms of our jurisdiction? Because we're not having a public hearing. It's not a ULURP action. There's another public hearing, as you mentioned, because it was extended into January. So what is actually our role in when we comment on what's before us?
As I mentioned, thank you, Commissioner
So
Burney, for
I
your
can
question.
answer that.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was just going to say that, you know, our role under the UDC Act is to comment on a GPP. And what we do is we send a letter that details the content, which would really, at this point, essentially be a reflection of the things that Edith and her team had indicated in terms of concerns and issues that we wish to see further considered by the state. That is our role. We don't, the City Planning Commission does not vote to approve the project. We get to comment on the project relative to ESD's review of the general project plan.
Right. Okay. So I would certainly hope that that letter would state in the strongest possible terms the point that the team has made about the disconnect between this real estate project and the real problems of the station. And the central issue of what's going on under Madison Square Garden, and to disconnect those two things in the way that this proposal does seems to me quite foolhardy and not what we should be doing. So I would hope the letter would express that sentiment.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're aligned in that perspective, that we want to see these two aligned better. Any other questions? I actually can't believe there are no other questions. Oh, Commissioner Levin.
Yes, I think we're all sort of hanging back here because there are so many large questions. We're trying to figure out what the most productive way is to get engaged in this. But I will say I really appreciate the detailed work that the staff has presented to us today that takes us a considerably lot further than we were 2 weeks ago. I guess I would just follow up on, Anita, your comments about our responsibility here. I think the UDC Act provides that we can recommend approval or disapproval or modification of a plan. I'm hearing in your comments that we're not really in the approval or disapproval framework, but more in a framework of providing comments and encouraging future discussion. Is that correct?
Well, what I would say is that the city's position, which we endorse, is that this effort is a positive effort because we believe that work needs to be done here. We do have issues that we want to see addressed. And what we are thinking in terms of how we would respond to the state is to make our comments focused on the modifications that we would like to see to the plan. So I think our focus is really on what are the aspects of the plan that we recommend there be more work on or modifications that would be aligned with the concerns that we have heard raised here in this presentation.
Okay, that's helpful.
And Edith, if you want to add anything.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's helpful and an approach I completely agree with. I also share Commissioner Burney's concern about the extreme disconnect here between two very large projects. And it's hard for me to be enthusiastic about our surrendering zoning control to such a large extent before we really know what is going to be needed to finance the transportation improvements that are at the core of this plan. I accept and agree that this is an area of the city that needs redevelopment and where very high density is appropriate in a way here that it's not appropriate any other place. But I think we have to be careful about how we craft it. And I think the city needs to be very careful about how it continues to steward its authority under the zoning resolution for zoning issues. And we've done a number of GPPs in this area. There've been one for Moynihan Station and one for, which was supplemented. We've seen a project between the MTA Estate Authority and the city in Hudson Yards. In both of those cases, of course, Hudson Yards went through zoning. The city did not surrender control over the zoning to the state. And nonetheless, there was a significant state effort to redevelop the area, and pilots were used to finance the extension of the number 7 train, which is of course taken over by the city, and performed by the city and not the MTA. Anyway, we get into very complex issues of the balance between the city's authority and the state's authority. And what troubles me here is that on private development sites, we are giving so much authority to the state.
Thank you.
I think there's a way to accomplish the redevelopment goals without stepping so far into the background.
What I would respond, Commissioner Levin, to that is that, you know, we would send a letter. The sort of content of the letter is something that we would share with the commission. What we are fortunate with respect to at this moment is that they have extended the comment period to February 20th. And so we really don't have to send a letter before the end of the year. And hearing this conversation, I think it's going to take some work for us to carefully craft a letter that, you know, walks the line between supporting the general notions and making plain the commission's sentiments here. So we will continue to work on that. I will ask for any other questions that the commission has. And then I'm thinking at this time that what we would do is ask for an assent of show of hands to send a letter, but say that we will defer sending the letter until we have had further opportunity to speak to you all. We also could just not get an assent and wait, but we're not going to send a letter that we haven't worked on with you all. So I'm glad we have more time than the end of the year as we originally thought. So are there any other questions or comments from the commission? I think we're hearing very plainly sort of the concerns that you all are expressing. Commissioner Knuckles, Vice Chair Knuckles, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. Ultimately, whatever shape this project takes, is it the assumption that public resources would all flow from the state, or is there a contemplation that city capital resources would be involved in the development of this area?
We are not really privy to those detailed conversations, but my understanding is that it's not really about city capital as much as whether or not, you know, city pilot revenues, which would be deferred tax revenues, right, would go to the financing here. But that's beyond the scope of our involvement in the project, and that's between City Hall and the state. Mm-hmm.
Well, nonetheless,
are there any
other
questions? So. Oh, sorry. But it would be a contribution of the city, even foregone taxes, if that's the case. Yes, yes, Vice Chair Knuckles. Mm-hmm. Commissioner Levin.
I'm sorry for taking two bites here, but I'm not seeing other hands up. One has to do with the addition of additional provision for residential housing. That was one of the changes that was made in the plan in response to the CACWAG. I think we've heard from local elected officials that a strong plea, demand for the inclusion of affordable housing in this area. Wonder if the staff has anything to say about that. And then in the totally geeky, detailed zoning realm, the Hudson Yards rezoning created substantial bonus mechanisms for improvements at Penn Station. And I wonder how those will overlap with this. We're creating additional development rights on sites that were not contemplated as part of that scheme. Will this replace the bonuses that are available and remaining transferable development rights from the Farley building, or are they additive? How's all the density adding up here? You don't need an answer now, but that's just on my mind.
Let me address your first question though, Commissioner Levin. You asked about residential within the GPP. So as part of the plan, there is a designation of one site 1A on the western edge of the proposed district to be a rental residential building. And they are talking currently about 540 units, of which 162 would be permanently affordable. There are 3 additional sites that may have a residential option, which could total up to 1,798 units, of which 539 would be permanently affordable. So what the state is contemplating is a 30% set aside for permanently affordable units in the residential program.
Yeah, well, and in that, as I understand it, the in particular, the building that you referred to on Site 1, CACWAG is recommended for use to relocate residential tenants who may have to be displaced as a result of all that. And that seems like something that is very worth doing.
Certainly could be noted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And with respect to your other question, we will look into that and get back to you. Are there any other questions? So, hearing this discussion, I think that we should defer getting authorization to send a letter until we have drafted something, referred it to you all, and worked with you in terms of what it says. So I will not ask for a show of hand, but I thank you for this discussion, and we will be back on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So Ryan, is there any other business for this special review session?
No, Madam Chair, there are not. We can begin the public hearing section.
Okay, so
Public-
then the
public
special
meeting.
review session is adjourned.
All right. So I can just begin with our preamble here. So verbal testimony may be provided online or by calling in on your telephone. If you wish to speak, you must register through the NYC Engage portal. If you wish to access the hearing, please register with the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. A link to join the hearing is on the landing page after you register, so don't close that landing page without first clicking on the link. If you're accessing the hearing via phone and wish to speak, you must first register with the dial-in participant hotline. The numbers listed on the screen. If one of them is busy, please try another. The meeting ID is 618-237-7396. Press pound to skip the participation ID. The password is the numeral 1. The phone number is also posted on the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. Note that no matter how you're accessing the meeting, you must register if you wish to speak. Those accessing the meeting online will have the option to turn on their camera while giving testimony. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be notified and promoted to a panelist. This will allow you to unmute your microphone and grant you the ability to turn on your camera. Listen closely for your name to be called. There'll be a short period where it will appear that you are no longer in the meeting. Don't be alarmed. You will rejoin the meeting as a panelist. If you are accessing the hearing via phone, your name will be called from the list of registered speakers. Once your name has been called, you'll be given the ability to unmute yourself. You do this by pressing *6 to unmute your phone. For those listening to the hearing through the online live stream who have not yet registered to speak but decide they wish to do so during the hearing, you must first register to speak through the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. For those accessing the hearing via phone who have not yet registered to speak but wish to do so, you must also first register to speak through the dial-in participant hotline that I described a moment ago. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes of testimony. There are a few exceptions to the 3-minute time limit. Elected officials are accorded the courtesy of jumping to the front of the queue and are not limited to 3 minutes. If consecutive translation services are being used, the time will be extended to 5 minutes. And if an applicant team with 3 or more speakers wishes to make a team presentation, the team will generally be allowed a total of 10 minutes. The chair will announce when the time limit has been reached. Be mindful of potential background noise during your testimony. Make sure that if you're watching the proceedings via live stream, that the live stream is muted when you begin your testimony. Otherwise, you will hear an echo. And if you wish to submit written testimony, it should be submitted to the Department of City Planning. The mailing and email addresses can be found on our website, planning.nyc.gov. Lastly, note that this remote public hearing is being recorded.
Thank you. So good morning and welcome to the City Planning Commission remote public meeting. Madam Secretary, you can please begin the meeting. Thank you.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held remotely through the NYC Engage portal. Today is Wednesday, December 15, 2021. I will now call the roll. Chair Lehman. Hello.
Here.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Here. Ms. Brewer.
Commissioner Burns.
Like 11:30.
Here.
Because you said to get there.
Commissioner Capelli.
Wait, don't go.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck.
Here.
Commissioner Edie.
Here.
Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner Marin,
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz, Commissioner Ortiz, Commissioner Rampachat.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the public meeting of Wednesday, December 1st, 2021.
Thank you. On the minutes? Can I get a motion to, I'm making a motion to approve. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Are there any opposed? Thank you. The minutes are approved.
Scheduling, calendar numbers 1 through 10, we have resolutions for adoption. Scheduling Wednesday, January 5th, 2022, for a remote public hearing to be held through the NYC Engage portal.
Thank you. On the resolution, I make a motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The resolutions are adopted. Thank you.
The next part of the calendar is the report section, page 15. Reports, Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 11, CD 8, C220082 PCX, in the matter of an application for the site selection and acquisition of property concerning NYPD Bronx Special Victims Services. For a favorable report on calendar number 11, Chair Lemon.
Yes.
Chair Lemon. Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 11. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar numbers 12 and 13, CD5, calendar number 12, C210285, ZMK, calendar number 13, N210286RK, in the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 749 Van Sinderen Avenue rezoning. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 12 and 13. Chair Lemon.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 12 and 13. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 14, CD 13, M090107D, MMK. In the matter of a resolution to approve an amendment to the city map concerning the Coney East Parkland map split, number 4. For a favorable report on calendar number 14, Chair Lemon.
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 14. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 15, CD1 N220099 ZAK. In the matter of an application for the grant of an authorization concerning 1 Java Street waterfront for adoption on calendar number 15. Chair Lehman.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Calendar number 15 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 16, CD3 N220123 RCR. In the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 109 Sylvia Street for adoption on calendar number 16. Chair Lehman.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Calendar number 16 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 17, CD3 N220126 RCR. In the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 3541 Alvin Avenue and 190 and 196 Bennett Avenue for adoption on calendar number 17. Chair Lehman.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Calendar number 17 has been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 20. Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 18, CD6, C150355 MMX. Public hearing in the matter of an application for an amendment to the city map concerning East 178th Street demapping.
Thank you. And again, we ask any of those that are testifying to limit their remarks to 3 minutes, after which time you will be muted. And please just also let me note that while we welcome the opportunity to hear your comments, we ask that courtesy and decorum be observed at all times during your testimony. I understand that the first presentation here will not be a team presentation, but that the first speaker will be Nora Martins from Ackerman.
Good morning, Chair Laremont and Commissioners. Nora Martins from Ackerman LLP, representing 420 Morris Park Avenue LLC, the applicant for the proposed city map amendment to eliminate, discontinue, and close a portion of East 178th Street in Community District 6 in the Bronx. Next. As you can see from this slide, the proposed portion of East 178th Street to be demapped is located just west of the Bronx River Parkway and is the terminus of East 178th Street, extending from Morris Park Avenue. Next. As shown on this land use map, the portion of East 178th Street and the applicant's adjacent property just to the north are both located within an M11 zoning district, although the area is characterized by non-conforming multifamily residential development. The applicant owns lot 61 on block 3909, immediately adjacent and to the north, which you can see outlined as a triangular property in gray, is a very irregular site that is bordered to the east by a very high rock outcropping adjacent to the Bronx River Parkway. It has been vacant for over a decade since the original building on the site, which was built by the ASPCA in the 1950s, was demolished in 2008. The site is currently paved and used for parking by E&J Electric, Con Edison subcontractor. They have approximately 3 years remaining on their lease and are aware of this mapping application and the potential future redevelopment of the site. Next. This slide shows the existing conditions of the portion of East 178th Street to be demapped, which is not open or improved as a street, but has historically been used by adjacent property owners for parking. Next. This map shows the sole land use action contemplated by this application, which is the elimination, discontinuance, and closing of East 178th Street east of Morris Park Avenue. Next. If the proposed demapping is approved, the applicant will seek to acquire the city-owned street bed and merge the property with their adjacent site to the north. The proposed demapping and disposition would result in an improved site plan and facilitate the future as-of-right development of the applicant's site as permitted under the existing M11 zoning district. By way of example, this could be a 2-story, 43,000 square foot medical office building with accessory parking. Lastly, any future development within the demapped street bed would be subject to the terms of a permanent easement agreement between the applicant and DEP to permit the construction of an ongoing maintenance of a planned sewer project. No construction of permanent structures within the easement area would be permitted. Next. While there's no finalized development plan at this time, given the uncertainty of the mapping process and the subsequent acquisition of the parcel, this slide shows a site plan that illustrates a potential medical office development that would utilize the floor area generated by the portion of East 178th Street to be demapped and complies with DEP's easement requirements. As you can see, the area of the demapped street is utilized for parking and access only. Should the proposed demapping be approved, it would facilitate the redevelopment of a long vacant and underutilized site on a prominent corner of East Tremont Avenue in this community district. This application was approved by Community Board 6 and by the Bronx Borough President, and we hope that the Commission will also review this application favorably. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. Martins? Vice Chair Knuckles.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Marks, given the, well, let us assume for a moment that the demapping is approved and your client would then pursue acquisition of the property. You did mention that there is a 3-year term still existing on the lease of the property. What then would be a projected time for development of this site?
I think the idea would be while that lease, those remaining years on the lease, keep the property occupied, would be to pursue the process with the city to actually acquire the property, which can take some time. And then to, as that is getting close to a closing so that the site can actually be transferred, really start to work in depth on a development plan. So I think the idea is to be ready to start development on the site once that lease is ended.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the Commission? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Martins. The next speaker on this item is Michael Curley.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I signed up just in case there were any technical difficulties with Nora Martins, my colleague from Ackerman LLP. If there's no further questions,
Thank you then. Unless there are any questions, I will just ask whether or not there is anyone else present who wishes to speak on this item.
There appear to be no further speakers.
Seeing no one? Okay. Then I will say that this hearing is closed. Thank you.
Borough of Manhattan, calendar numbers 19 and 20. CD 11, calendar number 19, C220059, ZFM, calendar number 20, C220060, HAM. A public hearing in the matter of application for the grant of a special permit, ULURP designation, project approval, and disposition of city-owned property concerning Castle 3, 107, 111 East, 123rd Street.
Thank you. I understand that there will be a team presentation on this item. You can begin.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for an opportunity to present the project Castle 3. My name is Joan Huang, a borough planner with HPD's Manhattan Planning Division. I'm joined by my colleagues, Felipe Cortez, Deputy Director of Manhattan Planning, and our development partners, the Fortune Society and their design and the consulting teams. So the project is located at 107, 111 East 123rd Street between Park and the Lexington Avenues. It is a supportive and affordable housing project. The proposed project will be a 15-story building, which approximately 82 affordable units, and 60% of the unit will be affordable, supportive housing serving the former incarcerated individual, and 10% of which for homeless individual. The remaining 30% of the units will be affordable for a household earning up to 60% of AMI. Next slide, please. So the land use action needed to facilitate the proposed project, including the disposition of a city-owned land and a special permit to allow an increase in floor area for the community facility use with sleeping accommodations. So now I will turn the presentation over to our development partners to provide further details of the project.
Next slide, please. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. So we are the sponsor, the Fortune Society. We have a skilled team and a land use attorney. And this is our team. Next slide, please. What we're excited about is that this is quality affordable housing in a transit-rich East Harlem community. It borders the commercial corridor for East Harlem, which allows buildings for significant height. We are well below that height. 82 units are for New Yorkers earning up to 60% AMI. But we are really proud of the fact that 58 units are reserved for homeless, formerly incarcerated individuals. So we think that the bulk of AMI will be 30% or lower. 24 affordable units, a live-in super, both for security and it ends up being a counseling role as well as a super role, and on-site comprehensive services, counseling, job training, and a teaching kitchen. Next slide, please. This is a picture of the building, and you can see that it's kind of beautiful. We have an office suite with supportive services, a bike room for energy efficiency. We have a rear yard where we have exercise space, seating, walkable skylights. We have a social services suite, and front yard front yard with line of sight on the street, which I think is important for security. Next slide, please. So I'll turn this over to Curtis and Ginsburg, who are architects.
Thank you. Please go back one slide. I just want to make, first of all, good morning. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, commissioners. I'm Mark Ginsburg of Curtis Ginsburg Architects. Want to point out a few things here. Although our building is fairly tall, there are currently taller buildings in the neighborhood. And with the Park Avenue rezoning, as Joanne noted, there will be much taller buildings to the west, so at some point you will not have this view. I would also point out, as partially a comment from the commissioners and the community board, that the blank sidewall, we have developed a design for to activate it till it's covered up by adjacent buildings. And as Joanne mentioned, the ground floor use will be community space, much of it used by the larger community and not just the community of the building. Next slide, please. We are planning a very energy efficient, all electric building designed to passive house standards with photovoltaic panels on the roof, giving us a fair amount of the energy production. In addition, also as Joanne mentioned, but you can see here in the drawings, we have a front courtyard which will be accessible by the public and planted and tree lined, and then a rear courtyard which will be recreation space for the residents. Thank you. Next slide.
So what we are going to have, is 30 to 60% AMI. The bulk of the cases will be studios. The bulk of the units will be studios, where we are looking at 60 units that are at 30% of income. And we are skewing this toward homeless housing and have done an enormous amount of community outreach to define needs and get community buy-in. Next slide.
So
thank you. On behalf of our team and HPD.
Thank you. Is your presentation complete now?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I will say on behalf of the Department of City Planning that we are excited about this most worthwhile of projects. Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for this team? Vice Chair Knuckles.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Page, I was wondering whether or not you had the opportunity to review the Community Board 11's opinion about the project, which certainly is supportive, but they put forth, I believe it was 3 conditions that they wanted to see. And I was wondering what your response was or is to those conditions.
We cheerfully accept them. That is the way in which we function on West Harlem site. And that is the way in which we wish to function in our East Harlem site. So it accords with our values and we enthusiastically accept them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burney.
Thank you. Just a comment, really, just to say that I really wholeheartedly applaud the work of the Fortune Society. They're really a valuable participant in the city, and they have a terrific architect. So I'm really happy to see this project going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission? Thank you. I will now ask whether or not there is anyone else present who would like to speak on this item, as there are no other individuals signed up at this time to speak. If so, please sign up now.
Doesn't appear to have any further speakers on this item.
Okay, thank you. Then I can tell you that this hearing is closed, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Borough of Queens, calendar number 21, CD3, C210189 ZMQ a public hearing in the matter of an application for a zoning map amendment concerning 99-07 Astoria Boulevard commercial overlay.
I understand that there will be a team presentation on this item. You may begin.
They're here. Hold, just we got them. Ron, if you could unmute your microphone. You're speaking. There you go.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see you and we have your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, good morning, commissioners. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Ron Mandel on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined by other members of the project team, Umar Sisi and Youssef Aid on behalf of the property owner, and Anastasios Giannopoulos, the project architect. So I'm trying to go to the next slide. There we go. Thank you. The application seeks a zoning map amendment to map a C23 commercial overlay over an existing low-density R32 district. It's hard to see on the zoning map. It's zoomed out, but the surrounding area is mapped with a commercial overlay along Astoria Boulevard. Next slide, please. This site is located, as I mentioned before, along Astoria Boulevard between 27th Avenue and 100th Street. As you may know, Astoria Boulevard is a wide street, which measures approximately 130 feet in width. The rezoning area consists of 4 tax lots, an area that comprises an entire small block that measures about 11,000 square feet. 2 of the 4 lots are undeveloped, lots 17 and 23, and the 2 others are developed with residential homes, a 1-family and a 2-family. Those are lots 14 and 15. 2 of the 4 lots are owned by the applicant. The other 2 lots are owned by another property owner and are in common ownership. The applicant's portion of the block measures about 6,000 square feet in area. Next slide, please. The block has been located in an R32 zoning district since the adoption of the resolution in 1961. As you can see from this map, the subject block, which is small, I mentioned before, it's about 11,000 square feet in area, is surrounded by blocks that are zoned residential with a commercial overlay to the south, to the west, and east along Astoria Boulevard. Next slide, please. With the zoning map amendment, the applicant proposes to construct a 1-story commercial building that would be occupied by local retail type uses. The proposed C23 district permits a maximum FAR of 1.0. The city map requires a street widening along 27th Avenue of 5 feet, which would permit a building then to be constructed that measures about 5,500 square feet or an FAR of 0.91. Next slide, please. This illustrative floor plan illustrates what the space could look like. What the applicant envisions is having 3 retail type stores, which measure in size between 1,700 square feet and about 2,000 square feet, with openings along Astoria Boulevard. Next slide, please. Thank you. With respect to issues raised at the Community Board and the Borough President's Office, the applicant did agree to consult with Queens Community Board 3 to help identify prospective commercial tenants for the new commercial building. Also important to raise, both the Community Board and Borough President did not raise any issues regarding the land use rationale for the proposed zoning map amendment. However, the Community Board did echo the neighbors' concern about construction activity, which we fully appreciate and understand. Well, as we explained, steps can be taken to ensure the safety of people and property, as often the case with construction in the city. With that in mind, the applicant did agree to, in writing, to enter into a written agreement with the neighbor before any demolition was started at the site. In addition, the applicant agreed to cover the neighbor's expenses for professional fees, both legal and engineering, to review the proposed plans once they were finalized, to negotiate the protection agreement, and to monitor the project during the entire process. In conclusion, we respectfully believe that the proposal is modest, it is appropriate from a land use and zoning rationale, and we believe that the commercial overlay will facilitate the development of a building that will serve the neighborhood along this commercial corridor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the commission? Okay. Commissioner Rampershaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick questions. With this proposed project, is it proposed to underpin the building next door? Because in our package, I don't see any other drawings other than the first floor plan. Because I know they're raising concerns about the property owner next door, so I'm just curious. Can the architect respond to that?
Hi, Commissioner. No, there's no plans to underpin the adjacent building. There's no need to do that, nor there's any plan to do that.
Okay. And I guess the next question is, after the job's approved, will you guys send an approved set of plans to both the community board? And I know you said you're gonna keep an open dialogue with them, but will you send them amendments or construction docs after it's been approved at the Department of Buildings?
Yes, yes. We also agreed to, at the community board level, to share any material changes to the proposed plans with the community board. We're happy to involve them and share the drawings with them as we move through this process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission? Okay. I'm not seeing any, so I thank you for your presentation. The next speaker that we have is Josh Sikoff.
Good morning. I've been asked to read a letter on behalf of Thomas J. Gretsch, President and CEO of the Queens Chamber of Commerce, regarding this application. Dear Councilmember Moya and Chairperson Lermont, on behalf of the over 1,300 members of the Queens Chamber of Commerce, I am writing to express our support for this application. This application seeks a zoning map amendment to facilitate the development of new local retail stores along Astoria Boulevard, a frontage that has been underutilized for at least 70 years. As an advocate for job creation and economic development in Queens, we are very pleased to see this project, particularly now in this area of our borough, which will create construction jobs and new permanent jobs. The Chamber of Commerce's mission, in part, is to help businesses foster connections, advocating for their interests, educating them for success, and implementing programs that help them grow. We bring jobs and economic opportunity to every corner of our borough. This project will help add to the vibrancy of the East Elmhurst community. An added benefit, the rezoning will improve the commercial continuity of the area. The immediately surrounding blocks within the vicinity of the site are developed with commercial storefronts, but the Astoria Boulevard frontage of this small block has remained fallow. In its current state, the property discourages consumers from visiting other retail establishments by acting as a buffer between two disjointed commercial block frontages. We understand that the Queensborough President has already recommended support of the application. The Queensborough President acknowledged the concern of the neighboring property owner related to construction impact. While we fully understand the concern as well, we appreciate this is a common obstacle that every construction project must overcome and is unrelated to the proposed rezoning request, which we believe is modest and reasonable. It is our understanding that the recommendations of the Queensborough President will be implemented by the property owner. It is for these reasons that the Queens Chamber of Commerce supports this project and respectfully asks you vote to approve this application. Sincerely, Thomas J. Gretsch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Sikoff? Well, thank you very much for your testimony here. The next speaker is Mohammed Buryan.
He does not appear to be in the room.
Okay, thank you. Then the final speaker that we have signed up is Fotini Laapros. And then I would say that there are no other individuals signed up, but if anyone would like to speak, now would be an opportunity to speak. So we can take the final speaker now, if he's still here.
I've been informed that Mohammed is calling in at the moment.
Okay. Just let me know.
Okay. Is Mr. Leopodatos not in the room?
Does not appear so.
Okay, yeah, all right. We'll just take a moment.
Do you have Mr. Buryan? You're trying to get him, okay.
Sorry for the delay. Yeah. Yeah, we can, it looks like we're having a hard time getting him. We'll ask him, we'll work with him to get his comments submitted in writing.
Okay, then are there any other individuals signed up to speak on this item?
No, there are no further speakers on this item.
Okay, then this hearing is closed. Thank you.
Borough of Queens, councilors 22 and 23. CD 12, calendar number 22, C210213, calendar number 23, N210214ZRQ. A public hearing in the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 97-04 Sutphin Boulevard rezoning.
Thank you. I understand we will have a 10-minute team presentation on this item. You can please begin.
I am David Beer from Breaking Ground. Next. So I will talk a little bit about the proposed project along with partners, Community Healthcare Network and Neighborhood Housing Services of Jamaica. Next. Breaking Ground is a not-for-profit developer and operator of senior housing, affordable housing, and supportive housing. Next. Breaking Ground operates over 4,000 units of affordable, supportive, and senior housing in 16 buildings, most of which are located in New York City. Next. The project site is located at 97-04 Sutphin Boulevard. It's shown in the box in red at the southwest corner of 97th Avenue and Sutphin Boulevard. Next. So regarding the residential component of the project, there will be 173 units of senior housing in a 15-story building with a mix of 1-bedrooms and studio apartments. There will be a live-in super. All 172 rental units will be for low-income seniors. And 52 of the 172 rental units will be supportive housing for formerly homeless seniors aged 55 and over. The remaining 120 units will be for seniors ages 62 and over with incomes up to 50% of the area median income. Community Board 12 applicants will receive a preference for 60 of the units. All the units will be subsidized by a project-based Section 8 operating assistance contract, which will enable us to serve extremely low-income seniors. Services will be provided on site by breaking ground and also in the healthcare clinic on the ground floor. Breaking ground will be the developer, the property manager, and will also provide the case management services to building residents. Next. I'd like to ask Community Healthcare Network now to briefly give an overview of their organization and their role in the project.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to represent Community Healthcare Network today. So we are a not-for-profit network with a 40-year history in New York City. Today, we have 14 federally qualified health centers, 2 school-based health centers, and medical mobile vans. Altogether, we offer free and low-cost primary care to over 60,000 New Yorkers annually in underserved communities across the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens. So in this project, CHN will operate a new and expanded health clinic in the building to provide services to building residents and the surrounding community. Next slide. The new clinic will replace the existing clinic that's currently 6,600 square feet. With the new development, we will more than double the size to 15,000 square feet, and 10,000 of the square feet will be at ground level, 5,000 will be below grade. So with this larger clinic setting, we'll be able to really increase the services that we can provide and the number of patients that we can serve. So we provide the full gamut of primary care services: adult medicine, pediatric and adolescent medicine, geriatrics, mental and behavioral health services, HIV education, testing and treatment, dental care, and home health care coordination services. So for this project, the proposed financing is through new market tax credits. Thank you.
Next. Is Lori Miller on?
Yes, I'm here. So the Neighborhood Housing Services of Jamaica is part of this partnership. We are a nonprofit housing agency founded in 1974 and based in South Jamaica, Queens. We're committed to preserving, protecting, and revitalizing neighborhoods. We offer a full range of housing, education, counseling, and financial services to low and moderate income residents. Our services include pre-purchase education, foreclosure prevention services, affordable home repair financial assistance in the way of loans and grants for homeowners, and financial capability education. We also provide services to tenants that include tenant education workshops that cover tenants' rights, fair housing laws, rent exemptions, and we assist those looking for affordable housing apply for the city's affordable housing lotteries. NHS's role in this project is to perform outreach and marketing and to offer financial literacy training to the building's residents to help improve their financial stability.
Next slide.
Hi.
I would like, yeah, Andy, go ahead, please.
So good morning, commissioners. I'm Andy Bernheimer, principal of Bernheimer Architecture located in Brooklyn. So about the massing and organization of the building. Consulting with DCP during the design process, the architecture continues the growth of a safe and engaging streetscape and meets the requirements of the special downtown Jamaica district. The building, designed to passive house standards, is articulated in 3 pieces: a 5-story mass along 97th Avenue, which holds the primary entry to the Community Healthcare Network space, a second lower 4-story piece along Sutphin, which contains the breaking ground residential entry, and a third taller topping mass set back from the street, which uses varied brick textures and relief to add detail to the architecture. Next slide. Here you can see the neighborhood context in the corner presence of the new building. You can also see the height articulation of the three separate masses in the base and tower, breaking down the architecture into visually intriguing pieces and addressing the street level experience with lower volumes scaled to that experience. Next slide. On the ground floor in pink is the space for CHN. CHN also has several thousand square feet of space in the lower subgrade level. CHN occupies the primary corner and faces the neighborhood, while the residential entry is at the southern end of the site on Sutphin. Next slide. Breaking Ground will also be providing supportive services embedded within the building. These occupy a portion of the second floor shown here in yellow, and the residents have access to these support spaces directly from the interior of the building. Next slide. So we are looking to extend the extant C63 zoning that is mapped to the north of the site to this block. The project site sits on the south side of 97th, and current C63 zoning ends on the north side, just above the red star, where you can see a thick black line running down the center of the street. The block to the north is already zoned for higher density, and we are looking to extend it across to this block. Next slide. So the proposed rezoning is as follows. Extend that C63 zoning district adjacent across 97th to map a residential equivalent of R9, which allows up to 8 FAR with inclusionary housing. The rezoning would permit the increase of units for low-income seniors from 96 to 173. It involves a text amendment to map mandatory inclusionary housing options 1 and 2 on the site, and no on-site parking is required under existing or proposed zoning. Now I'll give it back to David.
Next. So Breaking Ground has made local hiring goals, a commitment to that to Community Board 12 to hire local residents for 50% of the new construction jobs created by the project. We've also committed to regular reporting on our progress toward that goal to the Community Board. Next slide, please. Similarly, we have also committed to a local hiring goal of 50% for the permanent residential operations positions. And again, we have committed to regular reporting to the Community Board on progress toward that goal. Also, all the residential building operations employees will be represented by DC 37. Next. We were not able to provide any on-site parking due to the surface parking is not an option due to the healthcare clinic's space needs on the ground floor. Underground parking would have been too expensive. We are going to provide up to 12 subsidized parking spaces in a local lot or garage where residents will pay a subsidized rate. Next. And we hope to close on construction financing in mid-2020 with construction completion sometime in the fall of 2024. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the commission for this team? Commissioner Rumpershad.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Just 2 quick questions. I know the borough president had stated about having quarterly meetings with Community Board 12. You said you provided in writing a commitment to do that with Community Board 12?
Yes, we did. We have not yet said quarterly meetings, but we did commit to regular meetings, and quarterly meetings would not be a problem.
Okay, and the other question I have is looking through the Community Board's 12's I guess several issues they have with your plan. One of them says they felt that there was no plan to address quality of life issues. Can you elaborate a little further on why they stated that?
I think that's a reflection of their dissatisfaction with the lack of on-site parking. They thought that the project could contribute to parking congestion in the vicinity of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions from the commission? Okay, I'm not
I don't see any
seeing
either.
any, so I thank you very much for your presentation. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak on this item? I don't see anyone else signed up.
There don't appear to be any
Okay,
further
then
speakers on
this hearing is closed. Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, is there any other business before the commission today?
No, Madam Chair, just some public information. For those of you who were unable to or did not wish to testify, you can submit written testimony online by selecting the hearing on the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal through DCP's webpage or by mailing your comment to City Planning Commission, Calendar Information Office, 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271.
Chair Lermont, if I may, we do have one additional supplemental calendar item. That is appropriately our last voting item for this year. This is a supplemental calendar item, Commissioners. Good morning. The citywide N211230 RTR. In the matter of an application submitted by Yvette Gruhl, Secretary of the City Planning Commission, formerly known as Madam Secretary, in the City of New York for the grant of well-deserved retirement pursuant to no applicable section of the zoning resolution or restriction in any zoning district, community district, or borough. The report for consideration by the Commission this morning reads in part, whereas the City Planning Commission was advised of an application dated December 30th, 2021 from Yvette Gruhl requesting retirement pursuant to no applicable section of the zoning resolution. And whereas Yvette Gruhl is an outstanding public servant whose professional commitment to public service surpasses not just the ordinary, but the extraordinary. And whereas Yvette has worked at the Department of City Planning for 44.4 years. And whereas Yvette has served as a City Planning Commission Secretary, formerly known as Madam Secretary and Calendar Officer for 20 years under 5 CPC chairs, numerous CPC commissioners, and 3 mayors. And whereas, as Madam Secretary, Yvette effectively hosted several hundred CPC in-person public meetings that required high public visibility, on-camera poise, and knowledge of CPC operations. And whereas, as calendar officer, she reviewed the bi-weekly CPC calendar for requisite content and quality under tight ULURP timeframes. And whereas Yvette's dedication to upholding the public trust is beyond equal, only surpassed by her integrity and devotion to work that keeps the city running. And whereas Yvette's focus, diligence, and commitment to the City Planning Commission, the City Coastal Commission, and to the Department of City Planning define the best of public service. And whereas the City Planning Commission notes that Yvette's dedication, thoughtfulness, intensity, and efficiency as CPC Madam Secretary and Calendar Officer will never be forgotten. Resolved, that Yvette Gruhl, a special friend and colleague in honor of her service, be retired with distinction, highest honors, and regard from the New York City Department of City Planning after 44.4 years of outstanding public service, December 30th, 2021. For a favorable report on supplemental calendar item number 1, Chair Lermont.
Enthusiastic, yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
As the youngest member of the commission, I would like to just say a few words. First, I am tempted to make a motion that Ms. Gruhl be retained for the additional 0.6 years that she lacks in order to reach a 45-year employment period with the Department of City Planning. But somehow I think I'd be outvoted by my colleagues, so I won't go forward with that motion. I would also say that for about 20 of those 44.4 years, I have known Ms. Gruhl, in fact, long enough to refer to her as Yvette. And she has been, as the motion lays out, a dedicated dedicated part and integral part of the Department of City Planning, certainly from my vantage point. And I think she embodies so many individuals in city government that devote their lives to public service and do it well and do it honorably. And with that, I am privileged, yes, for Ms. Grew.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes, I enthusiastically vote yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
I'm surprised we didn't include a medal for putting up with so many different personalities and chairs over the years. It's kind of like cruel and unusual punishment. I am happy that Madam Secretary is going to finally reap the rewards of her public service. I have only known her for a couple of years, but I've come to value her service to the commission and her sense of public service and commitment. And I will miss her at our meetings, and I wish her Godspeed. Thank you.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Well, I join with everyone else, Yvette, just congratulating you and thanking you for your accessibility, your assistance, your amazing personality, and of course your style. Always looking awesome. And I just want to say I'm glad that this was a vote on the resolution and didn't require a special permit. So congratulations and all the best.
Commissioner Dweck.
I want to thank you for the many years of service and for being an integral part of everything, and just wish you the best of luck in your retirement. And I'd like to modify the application to remove any height restrictions so that you can continue to soar in your retirement. Good luck.
Mr.
I'd just like to wish Yvette the best and echo the comments of my colleagues, and I vote yes. It's been an honor to serve with you. Thank you.
Commissioner Levin.
And on the style front, I got to say I've been missing the carnival photos that for the last few years since we moved out of 22 Reed. Now we're going to have to, go watch for you online. But I hope you're not retiring from festive dressing. Good luck and good wishes.
Commissioner Marin.
So Anna just took the punchline away, because having met and worked with Yvette, it's been an extreme pleasure, both professionally and personally. And moreover, for me on the personal front, where I have developed a friend in Yvette, and I appreciate that. I also wanted to commend you on your Juve, Carnival activities and the outfits. And next time there is an activity, please invite me. I would love to see you in outfit and performing in the Carnival. So good luck, Yvette. Stay in touch, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
I see that Commissioner Ortiz is in the room. Commissioner Ortiz.
Hi, yes, Yvette, I apologize. I'm sick today, but I wanted to be here, and I second everybody's comments. You are an incredible addition to the CPC team. And when I started here, you were really invaluable in helping me, just get up to speed on everything. And I can't imagine this place without you. We will miss you a lot. And I vote yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yvette, I want to thank you for your many years of service and wish you a very happy retirement. And I vote an enthusiastic yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on supplemental calendar number 1. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And let me just add one other thing. Could I just add one other thing about Yvette, that she will absolutely continue to be the youngest looking 44 point whatever number of months retiree that we have had. I think she has an in with the Fountain of Youth, and I think we would all like some of that. But Yvette, continue to reach out to me when you like, and we miss you. I wanted to just say at this, our last meeting of the year, that I want to extend my sincerest thanks on behalf of me personally and on behalf of the department to all of you commissioners for your steadfast commitment to our work and your thoughtfulness as we do our work. We couldn't have made it through this COVID period and this year where we accomplished a great deal without your thoughtful insights. So I wanted to give you my thanks. And then I just wanted to wish you all a happy holiday season and a happy new year. Thank you.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to all. See you next year.
Yo.
To 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, with that, I guess this meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a happy holidays.
Happy and healthy.